Hey, everybody. We have a Mercedes GLE Coupe here today. It's not exactly a simple Mercedes. It's a 53 AMG, which allows this rather large car to move through space quite quickly. Well, and the most interesting thing in all this video is that Mercedes is not a standard Mercedes in the Dodger, and try to guess the company of the manufacturer of the Dodger. There's a clue that this story is produced in Russia. In Russia is installed, but I think except for the wheel rims in terms of production, but in general write in the comments where do you think is produced more precisely what is the name of this Dodger. I've already told you where it's made, but now I'll show you in detail what it looks like. So the second point is how do you like it all? Also write in the comments how you like the look of this particular styling. The most interesting thing here is probably the wheels, because, as you've noticed, the wheel rims are so unusual in shape, but it's actually quite common to see this now, especially on the latest Geländewagens. But personally, I like these rims because they are probably very easy to wash at the car wash, because as you can see there are almost no spokes as such. Well, the size is quite impressive, you see, 325 rubber. So, I guess, it's the kind of story like in all those American Fish Performer videos. The car looks like it came to us from such a clip. But about the Dodger and color, the color has been changed too. The car was originally gray in color. Well, as you can see, not a single chrome part is left here on the bodywork, which is basically for the good, at least in Moscow. You know, in Moscow it's all safely destroyed by chemicals that are sprinkled on the road in winter. But basically there's this disc story here. The interesting thing is that all the bolts are sealed. Well, and appearance says if under one bolt, honestly speaking, did not remove the cover, I do not know under one bolt it is or not, although theoretically can be under 1S. Well, as you can see, Michelin tires for fast driving Michelin actually I really like expensive but enough, very comfortable and quality on the car 20-something thousand mileage. Just showed you what the suspension looks like under the front left fender, but according to the mileage it looks like this. A car of such serious appearance turned out to be so all black. Well, and about the Dodger there are, as it seems to me, some nuances, especially on the front part. Well, the nuance first of all, the fact that it has become quite low, although in principle, I think that this height is enough to calmly and painlessly park near Moscow curbs. Especially, I think that without the Dodger such a GLE is certainly higher, but not much, because here we have added huge wheels. So basically, there's a balance. So I'm showing you the nuances. The nuances of the details of the Dodger itself. Of course, in principle, I think such a thing as a Dodger is a personal matter, a matter of taste. But I can tell you that it's a popular enough story. At one time, when cars were sold to Europe, there were a lot of orders for just such a plan of cars, exactly in Dodger, Geländewagen, and Dodger, BMW X and Porsche Panamera also sold quite well in Europe. With this tuning, because it's very expensive to do it there. Here, of course, it's also expensive to do so if it's an original, as in this particular case. But as I think you know, you can buy anything you want in a Vito from our Chinese neighbors. But, of course, now there are questions about how to register all this stuff. There used to be no such questions at all, which is why, in fact, the whole thing thrived very nicely. The trade is all this hard stuff. A liquid made of a strange plastic. And actually non-original Dodgers were very problematic to install. Well, if after some time you damage something, it's hard enough to find, it happens after some years what you bought earlier. But if you do, the quality is such that, frankly, there's a lot of doubt as to whether it needs to be done at all. But in the case when you buy some original stuff, even if it's a piece, then of course the story is a little different here. Especially, I think that if something happens, you can contact the same company where you bought all this stuff, and they will probably help you out. But in our country, however, the cases are more isolated, and they put these things on new cars. By the way, pay attention to such fins similar to Ferrari and some kind of reference to racing cars. These are these lights in racing cars. It is more done to make it as fog lights here. Honestly speaking, in working form, I do not know what they are and what they are made for. But in any case, looks beautiful. Which is why they're here. But I have already shown you the interior of this car. Such a rather bright interior, but worked out very well in terms of the quality of leather, really made at a good, such a professional level, because in the standard version of the GLE Coupe, well, to put it mildly, salons have become some not very high quality. But the question again, when you buy a car and for such money they put something strange leather language, but also so you know the question arises. The mesh is so you see from stones protecting radiators. But very often, when you show such things, there are a lot of comments, and there are people who say that this grid is very cool, hinders airflow and cooling, actually radiators. Well, I think the question is quite controversial, because actually I kind of think the air conductivity here is pretty decent, but then again opinions vary a lot here. So I'm not going to argue with that. Everyone assesses the risks for themselves in that sense, too. But the hood here, by the way, is not what they usually do on old Geldwagens when they buy Chinese stuff. There's an option like a cabin that goes on the hood. It's just glued on a epoxy floor or something, and that's where the hood is made. It is on the individual author's completely made hood here, as you will see, not on the standard glued something, but exactly this. This is the whole construction. It is made for this car. Now we'll just open the hood and show you from the inside how it looks, and at the same time look at the engine, and you can also assess how well it all works. But in Europe, the 53rd AMG, and including the head of the coupe, well, it's not the most popular car. Who likes 63 more there? I just this topic caught on when cars were being shipped from us to Europe and on 53 usually, but there were not very many orders. Here's a 63. 63s used to sell very well in Germany. But we open the hood, and what do we see here? Here we see a 3-liter engine called the 53. Well, that's also such a strange, very strange story. Just like the BMW 700, roughly speaking, a 3-liter engine is called the 40. That is, before, when the grass was greener and things were tastier, it always seemed that if 3-liter means it was this 530, respectively 4-liter, they're 4740, but now manufacturers have gone some other way. And anything else you see, that's just the way it is. Here's this front panel, aka TV, looks like carbon fiber, but I highly doubt it's carbon fiber. It's probably more carbon fiber than anything else, you know, but cars are not some kind of supercar, so it's a common enough Mercedes product. But I think by the looks of it, this plastic is very, very stronger than honestly. It's been a long time since I've restored anything like this to a car. So I can't tell you what it's made of, but I think it's some kind of hard plastic. Just about the hood, pay attention. Everything is made quite neatly, and from the inside there are no some wild. There are seams or something else, there are bolts, nuts, everything looks cool enough. But there's one downside, it's very heavy. That's when you lift it up, the shock absorbers can still handle it, of course, but the cowl ones, I think they'll fail faster over time than they would with a regular standard cowl. Anyway, this is what I got. The GLE Coupe in the trim. It looks very brutal and formidable, actually. Write in the comments how you liked or disliked it. Personally, I liked him a lot. Haven't tried this car on the move, but I think everything is just as beautiful as it is on the outside. And it's good to know that he is. Our country produces some things that are quite pleasant in appearance. But that's it for now. Subscribe to my channel, give me likes,